you already know what this is. Actually, you probably don't know what this is because I haven't put one of these up in like 9 months, you know, something light. So I don't know how to do this anymore. Basically, this is the playlist series. I've done this historically on the channel for the last 3 years almost. And this year, I guess I just decided to take a break. The Rona, bitches, depression, bitch. So I don't want to spend half of this video telling you why this series has been on pause for as long as it's been. I'm just gonna hop right into it. All right, the first album that we got is the best album that we got, and that's Donda. Let's not take no breaks. Let's not pussyfoot around. All right, this was the best album in your life. In all honesty, this is the most I've enjoyed a Kanye West record in like the last 4 years. Honestly, I'm of the belief that when Kanye is in his bag, that man is in another universe. Now, of course, just like Jesus is King, where he dips and dabbles into some of his old sounds and some of his old work, this album, he does the same thing with some of its minimalist production, but we also have a combination of a lot of beats that, you know, could kind of emulate Yeezus era, a lot of beats that kind of emulate 808s and Heartbreak era, while also embracing trap, while also embracing drill. I just think Kanye was really resourceful with this record as opposed to his previous, while also trying to stay true to his religious value. But I mean, God, man, shit, I mean, fuck. From track 1, Donda Chant, all the way to like track 10, 11, that's just a run. That's just a run of great quality music. That's just a run of great tracks. Jail, God breathed on me. I know God breathed on this. He breathed on me. That don't even make sense, but he did it, all right? Off the Grid, Fivio, What Are You Doing? Cardi, even you sound good. Hurricane, The Weeknd, Lil Baby. The Weeknd is rocking a Lil Baby on a Hurricane. All this chaos in the background and The Weeknd sounds as heavenly as he does. You telling me this is a Hurricane track? Praise God. Travis Scott, Baby Keem comes through with a great verse. I don't care if y'all say he said bada bing. It sounded great. Suck my dick. Jonah, isn't that the one with old boy Michael Jackson? No, that's got Vori on it. Vori and I think Ruga, or is Okay the one that has Ruga? I don't remember for sure. Okay, another great track. Junior, I heard the one that y'all sent me. Okay, the one with the hi-hats. That's beautiful. And I didn't even know Junior Part 2 had Ty Dolla $ign until other people start trying to talk about this Big Quint thing or whatever it is that happened. But believe what I say, bro, with the Lauryn Hill sample, like everything, it just is, it's a run. I've never had an album that I've listened to. Well, I have. All right, let me not exaggerate. But I've never had a record like this where I've listened to it within at least the last 3 years. From track 1 to track 10, where I'm like, bro, this is just orgasmic. The only reason I don't say that about track number 24, because we go from like the good time immediately into like the gospel, and I'm not a huge fan of gospel, even though I am a huge fan of gospel, but I'm not a huge fan of gospel. Remote Control is just trash. I mean, you're never gonna get me to like that song, Kill Yourself. Moon made me cry. It's still just as heavenly as it was when I first heard it. Donda's a great track. Keep My Spirit Alive is cool. Lord, I Need You, Pure Souls, Come to Life, No Child Left Behind. Bangers. Beautiful tracks. This is just, bro, it is what it is. You can't fuck with me. You know, even more so than this, I think that we're gonna get additions to this album. We might actually even get some tracks taken away. I don't have anything to prove that, but my premonition tells me that that might be where we're headed in the not too distant future. So I think this album has the potential to be even better than it already is. I thoroughly enjoyed myself listening to it. I thoroughly enjoy it to this day. I'm gonna keep enjoying it well into the future. Speaking of future, Drake. That had nothing to do with Drake. Drake dropped Certified Lover Boy, and if you know me, you know that I'm eager for a Drake. I almost fell. Oh my God, I almost died just now. Yo, pray for me. You know I'm as excited about a Drake album as I am about a Kanye album, okay? You can't provide me Drake and Kanye within the same week of dropping albums and expect me not to be equally as excited for both, all right? Stop capping. Certified Lover Boy, how has it aged for me? Not too well. You know, I'm not playing all the tracks, but pretty much all the tracks that I said I enjoyed in my initial experience with this album, I'm still listening to, you know, so I still like, you know, In the Bible, the intro track, Champagne Poetry, I believe it's called. I still really enjoy that one. The cut with Ty Dolla $ign, I believe, Get Along Better, I believe that's what it's called. I'm not like, I'm hazy as fuck anyway. That's crazy, Drake, you ass. Anyway, Fair Trade with Travis Scott, Pipe Down, Yebba's Heartbreak. Yebba has an album that came out as well. I want to talk about that real quick as well. No Friends in the Industry. Knife Talk isn't as bad of a track as I initially felt it was, but I still think Project Pat is the highlight of that track. I think he could have had it to himself as an interlude and maybe just 21 Savage. But for that track to end up on an album that's titled Certified Lover Boy, it really takes the irony that could be out of the title of what could have been an amazing conceptual comedy album where Drake just does nothing but make fun of himself. But it's pretty much the same album that we've been getting for the past however many years. And I know that Drake is past the point of evolution, right? He's gotten so big that he doesn't need to evolve to keep selling records. So why not keep making the same album over and over and over and over and over again? But I think over time, especially as he gets older, the tracks that he makes about women more so are just getting creepier and creepier, all right? But the last time when he did it on Scorpion, when he was referencing Georgia Smith on Jaded, talking about how you're old enough but you're still a baby, really creeped me the fuck out. Because I'm like, at the time Georgia was 20 and Drake, you were well over 30 at that point. Not well over, but you were in your 30s at this point. Like, bro, she's just exiting childhood. Like, what is that? Ew. But if he's not talking to underage girls or girls that are close to their adolescent years, he's talking to women that are in a significantly lower tax bracket than he is, so that he can throw money in their face when they don't act right or threaten to take away whatever he's gifted them if they don't comply with his demands. And that just, to me, just sounds like, bro, what the fuck? What are you doing? Go pay a hook. Not how you deal with relationships. Though I do understand that it is hard to come by a decent relationship where the woman isn't just into you for your status or into you for your money or what she can gain. I understand that, but just bragging about it on a track, that's just not something that you would do. 7 a.m. on Bridal Path, lots of bars, lots of shots at Ye. One thing that I did enjoy about the Ye album more than about the Drake album is just that Ye seemed to take subtle jabs or things that you couldn't send, that things that could be kind of interpreted as a shot at Drake, but not so direct to a point where it's just like, it's really bogging down the album experience. You know what I mean? There are tracks that are wholly dedicated to Kanye on this Drake album, and that to me just means that this might not age as well as a lot of Drake fans want it to. The thing about a track like Energy is that it applied so generally to the industry that it can hit back in 2015 and the tracks still go to this day. But knowing that this is about Kanye just kind of takes some of the sting away from it as a solo track that you're able to listen to and even apply to your own life and situation. I mean, some of these tracks that Drake's made are just so specific to Ye when it comes to dissing him that although I enjoy them, I can't really like them outside the context of the Drake versus Ye beef because it's hard to relate to. I haven't had a child and then like not told anybody about him and then told someone and then boom, it's all over the world. Like, I haven't done that, right? One of the best things about Drake music is that it's relatable. You can apply it to your own life. Stuff like this, it just don't go. Still, I don't think it was as bad as some people are making it out to be. I still think it was a decent Drake effort. I still think it's better than Scorpion, and I think the R&B cuts and the singing cuts and the more sensitive, more vulnerable side of Drake, what little we get of it on this album, is still far ahead of whatever that side B of Scorpion was supposed to be. Fivio, okay, I'm saying his name right this time, you fuckers. Fivio released a track, I forgot what the title of it was, that talks about the evolution of a basically new adult, a kid who doesn't really know what he's doing, a little bit more innocent, to just this savage, you know, and talking about how prison can turn kids that make simple mistakes into these savages right out. It's a really detailed track. It's a really thorough track. It's very vivid. You know, I don't really listen to Fivio too much, so this was a bit of a surprise for me. But I'm glad that he, just like other artists, after getting a big look from someone like a Kanye, is coming out swinging with more music of their own, because that is the time when you drop music of your own, is when you start getting those big looks. And then people start hearing about you. You give an amazing performance. Fivio had one of the best performances on Kanye's record. And boom, his own music is kind of like icing on the cake. Artists who have dropped music more recently, we have Baby Keem with the Melodic Blue. Y'all know how much this album disappointed me. I wanted to like it, and y'all know how much I've loved Baby Keem since I found out about him a couple years ago, back in 2019. But I gotta be honest with you, there were so many good ideas on this record that just didn't make good songs, all right? There are tracks on here that sound so amazing in terms of the ideas and where they're going and the structure and the foundation of some of them. But when you peer into it a little bit deeper and you start listening to these tracks, it's like, bro, there's only a part. Like, I see the genius in what you're trying to do, but if I have to look at the song as a whole instead of nitpicking the parts that are genius in my opinion, I'm gonna be listening to fragmented versions of these tracks instead of the entire album. It really does feel like a rough draft, and I just want the finalized version. I want to see what the finalized version of this album would look like, what it would sound like, and I don't think we're gonna get that version until maybe next year or a year after, okay? And I'm willing to deal with the prototype. I'm willing to deal with the rough draft. I'm willing to deal with the ideas until we get what is going to be the final version of Baby Keem, you know, because we got that with Travis Scott. All right, someone mentioned to me before that it sounded like a bit of a Days Before Rodeo kind of a bit of an experiment. But the thing about Days Before Rodeo was Travis Scott seemed to have a general idea of what he wanted to do, and his voice wasn't so awkward, though it does lack personality. His voice wasn't jarring enough for me to be taken out of the zone or be taken out of my listening experience because he's trying something new or he's trying some different vocal acrobatics so that he doesn't come off as generic. I definitely think Days Before Rodeo had a lot more solid songs on it, and Travis went on to fully realize it with Rodeo and even complete a sound even further when we got to Astro World. I think Baby Keem deserves to be given that time as well. But even though he didn't give me a really complete album in my opinion, Trademark USA, I still really enjoyed the ideas on Pink Party, still really enjoyed Scapegoats with the Serpent with Feet sample, really enjoyed that. Range Brothers, again, some good ideas, but the top of the morning, I'm never getting down with that. Kill yourself. Booman was great, 16 was great, Family Ties was great. I mean, some great ideas here, there really are. Babyface, Ray, Big Shawn, and HitBoy have another single out, and I really enjoy it, man. I think their flows are fantastic. Big Sean's coming through with some amazing energy on this single. HitBoy production is great. There's a beat switch at some point that goes crazy. Big Shawn has a line in here that's actually great. She gonna cheat for LA Breeze. I'm a Babyface. I feel like LA Reid. Oh my God, he was bodying the flow. Both of them were. This was a great track. You should check it out. Real quick, I wanted to shout out this Yebba album. Yebba was on Drake's most recent album, Certified Lover Boy, the Yebba's Heartbreak track. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with her from that. I really enjoyed her contribution to the album. I thought she was one of the highlights, one of the stars of the Certified Lover Boy album, and she dropped an album of her own. I don't remember the name of it. I'm really a horrible music reviewer. Oh my, got a very strong, very mature voice. Takes up a lot of space on the record, but there's still enough for the features to shine. I think it's a good intro album. I don't think there are enough statements that are being made on the record. There aren't enough songs that really pop like that. But if you've never heard Yebba before and this is your first intro, she does have a lot of personal tracks here. A track that's a bit of an homage to her mother. A lot of these tracks on her album have a very smooth finish to them. If you never heard her music, I'd recommend to listen. Just see if you like it or not. The new Little Simz album, SIMBI. I only got SIMBI from the Sometimes I May Be Introvert after reading it like 1,000 times and figuring out that that's like the name. I had no idea until like well after I reviewed it. Yeah, I mean, what can I say? This is one of my albums of the year. I really enjoyed it. It was a great record, great listen for me. And kind of identifying with her struggles about you sometimes being your worst enemy. Conceptually, one of the better albums that I've listened to, but also on a personal level, just how you can overcome your own weaknesses and like watching the evolution or the growth during an album is something that I really appreciate, because oftentimes we get these listening sessions or these therapy sessions where at the end of the record you don't really see that much has been accomplished, but from the beginning we see that there's a problem that she's acknowledging, there's something that's holding her back, she's addressing it, she's confronting it, and she's kind of overcoming it by the end of it. I like that type of writing. I've been listening to this EST Gee album, Bigger Than Life and Death, way too much. You ever have one of those albums that you're like, okay, I like a few songs off of this, and then you keep listening to the same album, but you're so thirsty for more music that you listen to the same album again from the same person, and then you keep taking more and more tracks away from the album, convincing yourself that the songs are way better than they actually are? That's how I felt about this new EST Gee album. I know it came out back in July, and I've been listening to the record since then, but I went from like 5 to maybe 6 songs off the record to like almost the whole album being on my phone. When I tell you there is not another artist that's giving me that vibe of just talking yo shit on a song in a long time other than EST Gee, there isn't one. Like, this dude just talks his shit for entire records. He makes big homie hood music. So much paper, I bribe fate to hold my karma is easily top 10, top 5 lines I've heard this year. Shit is just hard. The way he words things sometimes is just like unnecessarily cold.
And all alerts off. This a fast car, but I'm moving slow. I like my syrup raw. I got more paper than your big dog.
Hold up there, G. I don't know if I have more paper than his big dog. I gotta wait for my deposit. I did listen to the Hitler Wears Hermione's album, the new one. It's probably one of his best records in the last 2 years. Is it my favorite, you know, out of the Hitler series? I don't know. I gotta listen to it a little bit more. But I know Stove God, he's really the MVP for this record. The amount of solid features he gave here. Westside Gunn, obviously, too. I really came into this album looking for what songs were going to give me good beats. You know, that's really what I go to a lot of Griselda for. I already expect them to deliver to some extent lyrically, more so for Conway and Benny when it comes to their records. But with Westside, I'm really looking for how he curates and how he puts songs together, where he puts certain features. I'm not really looking for him to perform in the same way that I expect the others to. But this one he does. I mean, I think he does a solid job on pretty much every track that he's on. There's a bit of an unattainable wealth that Westside manages to deliver and achieve for a lot of these tracks based off of the subject matter and the content. Even though the tracks can sometimes be grimy or can be reflective of a hostile environment. Boldy James and the Alchemist with Bo Jackson. Really enjoyed this record. Y'all know Boldy James and Sterling Tolles got my album of the year for his Mom record. Oh! Man, it's so refreshing to hear this man rap.
Chop the whole block up, that's when we found out that it wasn't them. Base rental Honda Civic, Auntie Max and all the Bridget cuff.
This dude is a master. Okay, a master lyricist. But when he gets into the right pocket, his delivery and his flow is so captivating, you cannot stop listening. And the Alchemist production on this album adds so much more passion and soul and rhythm to these tracks. The samples that he's using and throwing into these records, fantastic, phenomenal. Alchemist never misses. Benny the Butcher also released an additional EP. I believe it's called Pyrex Picasso. And it's exactly what you'd expect it to sound like. Not as powerful as a statement as his most recent Burden of Proof album, but this is still a great contender. Pretty good selection of songs. I believe I like the intro cut, after the intro cut, the most on this album. Walked away when I could have paid niggas to finish it. Like, it's what you'd expect.
Yeah, you got a problem, little bitch, I ain't involved.
Still not a fan of Gunna after this track, but Lil Tecca dropped a single a couple weeks ago called, damn, I forgot the name of it already. Single from his most recent album, I Think We Love You Tecca 2. Now, I have not listened to that full album yet, and I'm hesitant to give my opinion on the entire thing, obviously, as I haven't listened to it. Based off this single, I think the single's pretty nice. I enjoy it. I don't know if we're gonna get more of that on the album. I thought there was a track with Chief Keef and I forgot his name, Trippie Red. It was supposed to be on the album. I didn't see it when I checked it when it came out, so that's why I didn't listen to the full thing. But I'm hoping that we get more stuff that kind of sounds like this. You know, I enjoyed this track. If you want to listen to the album based off this track, then, you know, give it a whirl, give it a spin. I want to say something about the Trippie Red album, as I've said, you know, a while ago, but I really have no thoughts on it. It's not really my speed. It's a mix of trap and hyper pop and hip hop all kind of mixed into one. So if you like that, you'll probably like this record. I just know it's not for me. I'm not calling it a bad album, but it really isn't my speed. The Trippie Red that I like is a lot more the smoother, softer, more R&B, kind of, what is it, acoustic kind of trippy more so, you know? So I can see why people would enjoy this, but I also, you know, I'm not really as big of a fan of it as others seem to be, though I still enjoy Rich Motherfucker with Lil Durk and Captain Crunch with Babyface Ray. I actually really enjoy those. This next album, y'all are gonna be just pissed at me because people have been asking me to say something about it for months now, and I've just neglected saying anything about it because I was incredibly bored. I'm not gonna lie. This new Dave album, We're All in This Alone Together, I was not a fan of it. I gotta be honest with you. I found a lot of the content, a lot of the lines and the bars and the instrumentals off of Psychodrama to far exceed what was going on this record. I was far more interested in that album, and of course I'm not trying to just use this as a way to compare the two and say this one's better because of this, but at the same time this album, it lacked such interest for me that I had to go back to his most recent to see what was the inspiration from going from this, you know, with where there's tracks that are centered around, you know, the plight of black folks, even as we reference the UK, to going through the mental state of Dave, these therapy sessions that he's having from track to track, you know, concentrated, focused tracks like the one where he's talking about the abuse story. Though I wasn't a huge fan of that one either, I still could appreciate the storytelling, the attention to detail of a track like that. Going into detail about his own family, but I feel like the content here is just like, it's so forgettable for me, and I hate feeling that way because I was genuinely impressed with a lot of flows, bars, and an overall ability to kind of captivate me despite the difference in accent on Psychodrama. But here, none of that same personality, at least in my opinion, shows up, and the beats just take me out of it completely. It's so boring. It really does feel like everything that Dave was aspiring to be as like an authentic rapper is kind of sapped on this new album. And although I can't appreciate some of the places that he's trying to go, at least in terms of being more palatable, I think the points where he's including features that stand out, they stand out more than he does. The James Blake cut is a huge example of such, in my opinion. But yeah, I just think a return to form will be better, at least in terms of my experience of listening to his music. I know a lot of y'all really enjoy this project, so don't let what I have to say take you out of it. If you love it, then keep loving it. But for me, this just doesn't hit. Y'all know I'm still listening to the new Vince Staples album. Still love it. Still in love with it to this day. A very short, concise album. A record about telling everyone who glorifies the lifestyle that Vince has been rapping about since he came into the game. Letting them all know, hey, before you think that I'm just another one of these dudes that lives this and wants to be this all the time just because you hear it in my music, let me let you know that I'm human too. I have goals, I have dreams, I have aspirations too. This stuff does affect me in a negative way. It affects the people that you listen to in a negative way. Let me highlight that. Let me remind you of that. I just like how self-aware this album is, while also letting the listener know, you know, if you thought I was just here as an entertainer, look at me as a human being too. I haven't talked about the Tyler album. I'm still listening to Call Me If You Get Lost. This album was such an adventure. I think in the same way that Kanye gets some of these artists who you may have heard on their own records to sound amazing, for them to perform at their best because Kanye's around, I think Tyler has that ability to draw that same strength out of people. Finding that ability where people who may have listened to these artists' solo work may not have seen the potential. That is a gift. That is a skill. And I think Tyler has it, or is developing it, in the same way that Kanye has it right now. I believe y'all told me that Tyler's the one who did the transition on piano for Come to Life for Donda. If I'm right on that, if that's what happened, it just, all of it just keeps making more and more sense. You got YoungBoy to sound fantastic on an R&B cut, on a smooth cut without ruining it. Lil Wayne's going crazy here. It truly is a victory lap for Tyler, the Creator. I really enjoyed this record. He didn't feel the need to be so deep and conceptual with it in the same way that he was going through this artistic evolution from Flower Boy and Igor. Here it definitely didn't feel like he needed to have this persona. You know, it definitely just felt like, this is me. This is who I am. This is who I've been. Also, don't forget to listen to the new Isaiah Rashad album. It's gone over a lot of people's head, you know. The record, it seems to have missed a lot of people, and I don't like that. You know, I want to remind people of how great Headshots was. I want to remind people of how great a lot of the tracks off this album truly were. And although Isaiah does get outshined on some of his features, I still love the vibe of a lot of this album. Again, when you get me to say the word vibe, you're doing something incredible. Before I make this too long, I'm probably going to upload another one of these next week, full of another batch of songs and albums that I've been listening to that y'all may not know about. This one is probably a bit more general. Y'all probably know most of these, but just as a reminder, in case you haven't heard some of them, listen to them. Next week, I'll be hitting you with a bunch of albums that you probably haven't heard of this year. So thank y'all for watching. We're back with this. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed these records. I've been enjoying these records. And in the name of Jesus,